Hi, and welcome to another episode of Law Now. Let us continue on our journey through the historical milestones that have shaped the Indian constitutional law. In the previous episode, I discussed how the British government tried to regulate the East India Company's affairs by passing the Regulating Act of 1773 and also its flaws. Now, to settle these flaws, the British Parliament had to pass another act. This was called the Act of Settlement of 1781, which was like the new and improved version of the Regulating Act. This new act brought some important changes. Number one, it made sure that the public servants of the British East India Company were not subject to the authority of the Supreme Court, and they had their own rules. Number two, it aimed to settle the issue of who had control over the company's servants and the local people. The Act clarified the jurisdiction of the court in such cases. Number three, it clearly stated which laws should be applied by the Supreme Court. Number four, the Act recognized the Governor General's power to review and decide on cases that were already decided. Number five, it gave the Governor General the authority to create regulations for the local courts and councils. So the Act of Settlement of 1781 fixed some problems, added some power to the Governor General, and made things clearer for the Supreme Court as to which law it should apply. Let's move forward to the year 1784. Despite the Act of Settlement's attempt to address the flaws of the Regulating Act, the clamour for effective control over the British East India Company continued. The matter found its way to the Parliament's doorstep, prompting the appointment of two committees who were to examine the company's affairs. These committees, after thorough investigation and deliberation, recommended that the Governor General Warren Hastings and Chief Justice Elijah M. Pay should be recalled from their positions. However, the Court of Directors, who were the governing body of the company, refused to heed this call. This refusal underscored the inadequate level of parliamentary control over the company and its administration. And to correct this situation, the Parliament enacted another act, which was the Pitt's India Act of 1784. Now, this act drew a clear distinction between the company's commercial and political functions. The Court of Directors retained authority over the commercial affairs, while a board of 6 commissioners, known as the Board of Control, were appointed to oversee political matters. These commissioners were chosen by the king and served at his pleasure. The Board of Control was empowered with the responsibility to supervise, direct, and control all aspects of civil and military governance in British territories of East India. The Board of Control assumed a crucial role. However, the Court of Directors did maintain their influence, retaining significant patronage and the authority to hire and fire their own employees in India. Now, the primary role of the Board of Control was to review and regulate actions of the Court of Directors. They acted as a guiding hand, ensuring that the company's political affairs were aligned with the broader interests of the realm. Now, in a subsequent milestone, the Charter Act of 1793 was passed, which extended the company's trade monopoly for an additional 20 years. Through these fascinating twists and turns, we witness the dynamic interplay between the parliamentary oversight and the company's internal governance, shaping the course of India's historical tapestry. The subsequent milestone in our constitutional journey brings us to the Charter Act of 1813. Prior to this act, a thorough investigation by a committee of the House of Commons had delved into the financial affairs of the East India Company, which was not done prior to this. While the act renewed the company's charter for another 20 years, the exclusive trading rights of the company were revoked, opening up trade in India to all British subjects. So now everyone in Britain had the opportunity to come to India and loot the poor Indian populace. and call it trade as they did. The crown finally had asserted greater authority and exercised more control over the council and the company. However, it took another 30 years to truly set the stage for transformative changes in the composition of India's legislature by passing the Charter Act of 1833. Now, the Governor General of Bengal was to be designated as the Governor General of India, with the power to enact laws and regulations that would apply to all individuals, whether British, native, or foreigners, who were within the company's territories. This act centralized power and marked a departure from the previous regulations, as the laws enacted under the Charter Act of 1833 were now to be referred to as Acts of Parliament and not regulations. The next milestone takes us to the Charter Act of 1853, which proved to be the final installment in the series of the Charter Acts spanning from 1793 to 1853. Now, this act introduced a clear separation between the legislative and the executive branches of government. You can see how the separation of power theory is slowly coming into play. Now, this act established a separate legislative council for India, comprising of 12 members. The council consisted of the Governor General, the Commander-in-Chief, 4 members of the council, and 6 legislative members. 2 of these legislative members were English judges from the Calcutta Supreme Court, while the other 4 were officials appointed by the local governments of Madras, Bombay, Bengal, and Agra. And this is how, for the first time, local representation was introduced into the Indian legislature. Although they were just 4 members, but this paved the way for further developments. In this manner, the Charter Act of 1853 initiated the process of transferring Indian territories to the British Crown. And the first struggle for independence in 1857 further accelerated this transition and ultimately brought the end to the East India Company's reign in India. Now, my friends, as we reflect back on this remarkable constitutional journey, we witness the ebb and flow of power, the attempts to strike a delicate balance between governance and exploitation. These milestones that we have gone through till now in the history of the Indian constitutional law, with their virtues and vices, have shaped the destiny of a nation and laid the groundwork for future transformations, which I will discuss in the next episode. And as we delve deeper into this history, we will uncover not only the laws and acts, but also the human stories of struggle, resilience, and aspirations for freedom and justice that continue to resonate with us today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you got to learn something new. Please subscribe to my channel and let me help you boost your legal IQ. This is Ayan. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, farewell and let the spirit of justice guide your way.